So, you want to be a mermail player? Well, we've got some bad news for you. This deck is potentially one of the best, well, I wouldn't say bad. See, the thing with mermail is that basically it has the ability to put up boards better than, equal to, or better than a lot of the top decks today. And there's no doubt about that. However, its susceptibility to hand traps and disruption is ridiculous. All they need to do is negate your Deep Sea Diva normal summon or completely shut off your Neptibus, and they have essentially won. Because if you can only send one Atlantean Dragoons off of Neptibus, you're not going to get very far unless you have some very, very specific cards in your hand. You always want to see your cards like Abyss Megalo, Sturge, Abyss Spike, and Abystius, and you see them not as often as you'd want, but there are ways around it. But you're not here to listen about the ups and downs of the deck. You're here to want to know how to play the deck. How does it function? What are its gimmicks? In terms of the extra deck, honestly, it's your choice. Crystron Helka Fibrax, as we all know, is a fantastic card at the moment, and it just oh, pardon me. And it just speeds up every deck's plays ridiculously. So we're going to avoid talking about things like Helka Fibrax combos. You just want to know about the interactions between the Mermail Atlantean monsters and the monsters in the extra deck that are relied on that. So we're not going to be talking about any other extra deck monsters other than these. We're going to be talking about Gaios, we're going to be talking about Alacia, and we're also going to be talking about Bahamut Shark and Totally Awesome, if I can find the cards in question. So yeah, every other extra deck monster is essentially a smorgasbord of different synchro monsters, water synchros, things like Emancipator, Risen Dragite, Trishula. You've got link monsters like Marincess, Coral Anemone in there. You could flex and use a Deep Sea Prima Donna for style points, but let's not waste any more time. These videos are meant to be a bit short. Sorry, my camera's being ridiculous. So let's start off with the mermail monsters you're going to want to be seeing. You've got Tias, you've got Guns, you've got Pike, and you've got Megalo. Okay? These three are the ones that discard. So if Pike is normal or special summon, you can discard a water monster to the graveyard to add a level 3 water monster from your deck to your hand. Tias can special summon it by discarding another water monster to the graveyard, and then you can add a level 4 or lower mermail from your deck to your hand. And Abyss Megalo can special summon itself by discarding 2 water monsters. If it's summoned that way, you can add an Abyss spell or trap from your deck to your hand. And you can also tribute another attack position water monster to have Megalo be able to attack twice during that turn. Abyss Gunt is a mermail that can bring back a mermail monster from a graveyard if it is discarded to the graveyard, keyword. Now, the thing you need to note about the mermails is that they are effect activations, they are not summons. So your opponent can negate them with monster negates, they can go around it that way, but normally the cost will trigger the other part of your deck, which is what goes mostly in tandem with the mermail monsters, and that would be your Atlanteans. So, what are the Atlantean monsters? What do they do? Now, if I could just find my marksman, there it is. So, all of these have mandatory effects that occur if they're sent to the graveyard to activate a water monster's effect. So, Dragoons can search a Sea Serpent type monster from your deck, add it to your hand. Neptibus can bring back a Atlantean monster from the graveyard. Infantry can destroy a face-up card on the field. And Marksman can destroy a set card of the field. Of course, these both target. Now, these two have on-field effects. So Heavy Infantry grants you an additional summon of a level 4 or lower Sea Serpent. And Marksman, when it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can special summon any level 4 or lower Atlantean Sea Serpent type monster from your deck. This can come up, so never ignore that effect. Dragoons. It can allow all face-up level 3 or lower sea serpent type monsters you control to attack directly. And Neptibus allows you to send an Atlantean monster from your deck to the graveyard to add an Atlantean monster from your deck to your hand, except Neptibus. This guy is a primary playmaker because you send the monsters, they trigger their effects, and the ball gets rolling. As well as that being, Dragoons is a not once per turn effect, which really gets the ball rolling. It gets the cards you need into your hand to help bait out those negations that might necessarily interrupt you. Now we're on to the deep sea portion. So you're playing the Deep Sea Minstrel, and you're playing the Deep Sea Diva. Deep Sea Minstrel is a fantastic new card that really helps get hand traps out of your opponent's hand. Before this, as I was saying in the intro, hand traps, and they still are in a massive way, a real hindrance to mermail Atlanteans. So you just need to bear that in mind. Aria can search your level 4 or lower sea serpents, and Deep Sea Diva or normal summon brings a level 3 or lower sea serpent type monster from your deck, which would be a Neptibus most of the time, and then you can do plays like that. However, this is a very, it's a telegraphable, it's a very good bait, Deep Sea Diva. So if you manage to play forward from the initial normal summon of the Diva, then you can potentially use the Diva as a good bait, but if you have no follow-ups, you're going to have a bad time. Moon and Glacier can rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand randomly when dropped when you have exactly 5 water monsters in the graveyard. This is searchable off of Dragoons. As well as cards like Moray of Greed and Gamma Seal at any ratio you desire. You can also play the Frog Engine with copies of Swap Frog and Ronin Totem to help get into your Totally Awesome, or your Link monsters much more easily. Now, we're not going to be talking about combos. I may do that in a different video, but there is a brilliant channel called Shire. She does brilliant combo videos. I've learned most of my stuff from her. You should really check it out. It's fantastic. But let's talk about Mermail Abyssalacia, which is one, I believe, of the most underrated water extra deck monsters, especially with mermails in mind. So all it does is require a 2 fish, sea summon and or aqua monsters, and monsters it points to gains 500 attack. And during your opponent's turn, you can send a card from your hand to the graveyard to add a mermail monster from your deck to your hand. This will trigger your Atlantean Infantry Marksman. Also, if it's destroyed because of your opponent by battle or card effect, you can bring back any water monster in your graveyard in defense position by sending a water monster from your deck to the graveyard. So that is potentially 2 destruction effects. So if you have infantry in your hand, you pitch it for Abyssalacia's effect. You can destroy a card on the field. If she's destroyed, you can send another infantry, destroy another card, or send a Dragoons to set you up for next turn. This is a heavily underrated card, and most of my mermail boards, I don't want to go without it. Interesting caveat about Bahamut Shark and Toad as well. If you have a Dragoons attached as material to Shark and detach it, you are still able to search because you are sending a water monster to negate to the graveyard to activate Bahamut Shark's effect. And Abyss-YGO, again, a fantastic card. If it has material, level 5 or higher monsters can't attack. And once per turn, during either player's turn, you can detach a material from it to negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls with less attack than it. The higher you're able to get Abyss-YGO's attack if it's being pointed to by cards like Abyssalacia, or being equipped to by cards like Abyss Gale of the Mizuchi, you can really get this guy up to stupid attack, and maybe even just skill drain a Dragoon they want to drop on you. So just bear that in mind. It's a really fantastic thing to do. You can play this deck on a budget as well. You can make really good combos without needing to use cards like Alka-Fibrax. It's a fun deck to play. It's really fun. And it's a deck I've stuck with, It's not the best deck, I will admit that. But, it can take people by surprise in certain formats. And over time, it's just there's going to be more powerful water monsters that this deck can use and abuse. So, thank you for watching. I hope this has made you understand the Mermail Atlantean deck a little bit more. And hopefully you are able to play the deck at some point in the near future. Anyway guys, thank you very much. That's been Al from Exiles, and I'll see you in the next video.